Well, I realized something today, that the sign out front says Pride. And I totally understand, with Pride Fest being just a week and a half away, that many of you might have arrived today thinking that that's what I was going to be talking about. Oops. Well, I'll give it a free plug. Pride Fest is taking place June 9th and 10th with a parade going on Saturday. It's going to go up Central Avenue and end at the fairgrounds. It's going to go up Lomas. And it's going to end at the fairgrounds where the celebration will continue. Gosh, I didn't even get the plug right. Oh. But that's not the direction I'm headed today. And while the kind of pride that is celebrated at Pride Fest, pride in our identities, is certainly a good thing, it's just a small part of the kind or the kinds of pride that I want to explore with you here today. Really, I suppose I'd like this sermon to do two things around the concept of pride. The first is encourage pride in ourselves, our achievements and our gifts, our talents, our contributions to our community and to our world. The second is to discourage us from being too proud that it impedes our ability to grow, to build relationships, and to do good in the world. Now, the key to doing both of these things is to be able to distinguish an arrogant pride from a humble and grateful pride. And to sum it up, an arrogant pride is concerned with doing well. A humble and grateful pride is concerned with doing good. Well, that's the short answer, but Christine won't let me end my sermon here. So I'm going to keep talking, and I'm going to talk a little more about each type of pride and the difference between the two. In a sermon last fall, I talked about the virtues of humility, and today's sermon about pride is certainly related. I hope that today's message goes a step beyond, you should be humble, not proud. Rather, today's message is, we should be humble in our pride. Pride is fine. Sometimes. For example, I am unapologetically proud that I'm about to graduate from seminary. Thank you. When I began college, right out of high school, I never imagined that I would someday have a master's degree. And yet, I am 11 days away from completing this very big step in the journey toward becoming a Unitarian Universalist minister. So, of course, I'm proud of this. And we can be proud of others, too. When my wife, Emily, was accepted into Regis University's accelerated nursing program, I was so proud of her. And when she completed it just a year later and graduated with her Bachelor of Science in Nursing, and then passed her state licensing exam, and then got her first nursing job, all within the course of a couple of months, I was so incredibly proud of all that she did. And did I mention this was the summer that we got married? She took it all in stride, stayed calm through the whole process, and kept me calm through the whole process. There's lots of reasons to be proud. And I hope that she is as proud of herself as I am of her. This kind of pride is a good, healthy, life-affirming pride. It recognizes the best in ourselves and in others, and we feel affirmed as human beings. But pride can be a slippery slope. Taken too far, healthy pride can easily become an and arrogant pride. But how and why does this happen? And how do we know when we've crossed that line? In seminary, I took a preaching class called Preacher as Self, Cultivating an Authentic Voice. And the class was based on the Enneagram, which is a personality test, kind of like the Myers-Briggs, but with less of a purely psychological approach or focus, and allowing a little more room for spirituality in it. Well, in the class, my first assignment was to take a test that determines my personality type. Turns out I'm a 6, the loyalist. And the most useful thing I learned about this personality type is that we 6s are motivated by fear. I didn't intend for that to be funny, but okay. I really didn't want that to be true, but upon reflection, I realized that it is. I came to realize that much of what I do and how I do it is motivated by avoiding the things I fear, by carefully planning to avoid the things I never want to face, or to reduce the likelihood that they will happen to me. And sometimes this cautious approach has served me well. As much as my size and gender means that I'm often not the first target of harassers, bullies, muggers, I still tend to walk through the world with a constant vigilance. I get my car keys out in my hand before I step out into the parking lot. When possible, I give a wide berth when I'm passing a stranger on the street. I drive my car with my doors locked, and I park under the light poles in the parking lot at night. So these are just some of the things that I do to assuage my physical fears. On a deeper level, I also have existential fears that I have to buffer myself against. Ultimately, I and my fellow 6s, we have a very existential fear that we don't matter, that our lives will be lived and no one will notice, and that it won't make one bit of difference that we existed. I sleep pretty soundly most of the time, but when I lose sleep, this is what it's over. I want it to matter that I lived, and that the world is different and better because I existed in it. So this is how and why pride can go from healthy and life-affirming to egotistical and arrogant. When we operate from a place of fear, we do things to prevent that fear from becoming real. And when that fear is that we won't be accepted or affirmed by others, then we put forward a more confident and a more competent version of ourselves than we really are. We try to hide our true imperfect selves behind a facade of polished perfection. Surely, no one can deny my worth if I dress the right way, drive the right car, say the right thing at just the right time, and always, always do the right thing in any given situation. If I never make a mistake, my life can have value, right? And so, for fear of not mattering, I can make it my mission to convince you that I do matter. And the best way to convince you that that's true is to first convince myself that that's true. So I create a narrative that I am awesome, amazing, and perfect. That if I want something done right, I'm truly the only person that can do it. And how nice of you to offer me advice, but I already know everything that's worth knowing. And I'm happy to share my amazing perspective and offer my unsolicited advice and opinion by jumping into the private conversation you're having with someone else and solving your problem. You're welcome. The funny thing is, nobody really likes it when I'm that guy. Right? Don't we all prefer the confident but humble person whose presence we just feel better in? Because they aren't so self-absorbed that they can actually take an interest in us? And isn't it easier to take an interest in them in return and to affirm their worth when they aren't trying to one-up every story you tell and convince you how much worthier they are as a human? This is the downside to pride, when it goes too far towards arrogance. So what is the antidote to arrogant pride? Well, how about a humble pride? Not one based in ourselves and what we can do all by ourselves, but one based in gratitude and how well we can contribute to and build the beloved community. How about, instead of a pride that says, I can do it myself, we live into one that says, I can do it with the support of my community. In the quote that we heard earlier from President Obama's campaign speech, he reminds us that we are better together, that try as we might to trick ourselves and others into believing that each of us is a Wonder Woman or a Superman that can get it all done on our own, which is a dangerous and unhealthy symptom of the meritocracy we live in. But despite all of our greatest individual efforts, I am humbly reminded that nothing great has ever been accomplished by a person acting completely alone. At least, I can't think of an example. Now, sure, we've all seen isolated instances of amazing feats, but these are better suited to shows like America's Got Talent, or, if you're old school, Letterman's Stupid Human Tricks. And think about it. Even all the incredible scientific and technological discoveries that can be attributed to individuals came on the shoulders of giants who came before them, whose research and revelations were the baton that got passed along to these incredible individuals that they were able to take and run with. Every example of anything worth doing, every effort to improve the human condition or build a better world came from the unified efforts of passionate people willing to build relationships and work together with intentionality to change a rule, a custom, or an attitude. And eventually, this changes a culture. Eventually, this changes a society. And it all starts with relationships. It all starts in community. So, bearing in mind that we are better together, the best and healthiest pride we can have is in our accomplishments that serve the beloved community and in what we as a beloved community accomplish together. For example, Christine can be proud of the healthy, vibrant community that she did so much to help create, and that I am so fortunate to have been an intern for this year. But she didn't do it alone. It took the commitment of each and every one of you to get us where we are today. Another example, just 3 weeks ago, you all came together in beloved community and called Angela as the senior minister who will lead this amazing congregation forward into the future. Angela is a fantastic minister. But you all deserve some credit for recognizing and appreciating her gifts and coming together to call her to her new role. It was due to everyone who participated in the transition process, everyone who filled out the survey, everyone who took part in the feedback meetings, everyone who came to the congregational meeting and voted. It is thanks to all of you that we are headed for a bright and promising future. Take pride in what you have to offer. It's important to recognize our gifts, and it is okay to take pride in our abilities. But what really matters is that when we use our skills, we do so mindful of the answer to this question. Am I doing this to make myself look better? Or am I doing this to make the world better? We all have unique talents to offer our community, and we should be recognized and appreciated for what we contribute, just as we should recognize and appreciate others for what they bring. It takes all of us. We each have a role to play here. I'd like you to take a moment and turn to the person sitting next to you. No, really. Okay. Or to somebody sitting close by. Decide who will go first, but don't worry, you'll both get a turn. Now, one of you say to the other, "Thank you for building the beloved community." Okay, now it's the other person's turn. Person number 2, repeat after me. Thank you for building the beloved community. You all went on the first person, didn't you? Yeah, okay. All right, how did that feel? Okay, so now that you know what's happening, let's do it again, okay? Person number 1, repeat after me. Thank you for building the beloved community. Wonderful. Okay, person number 2. Thank you for building the beloved community. Thank you all for building the beloved community. I am so proud of all of you. Okay, if you look in your order of service, you'll see that the next item is listed as